Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the real estate partner at Saul Ewing, Mr. Eric Williams.
Thank you. This last presentation is the last thing between all of us in happy hour, so I'm going to keep my comments brief here. My name's Eric Williams. I'm co-managing partner of the Philadelphia office of Saul Ewing Law Firm. We're proud to be here today sponsoring ThinkFest at Drexel University, where we're currently representing the university in connection with its Innovation Neighborhood project. I'm also privileged to be introducing the final speaker of the day, Mayor Michael Nutter, and Patrick Kirkstra, the deputy editor of the Philadelphia Magazine. My firm has been fortunate to work with Mayor Nutter and his administration closely over the last 8 years on several notable projects: the Convention Center expansion, Delaware River waterfront revitalization, Xfinity Live, Navy Yard, Market East revitalization, Dilworth Plaza. In this capacity, I've gotten to witness Mayor Nutter's leadership up close and its impact on the inner workings of the city. More importantly, however, as a city resident and father of three, I've gotten to see what his leadership has done for the confidence of this city. Over the last 2 terms, his list of accomplishments and initiatives are extensive. A new zoning code, Delaware Water Master Plan, citywide master plan, property tax reform, new parks, new bike lanes, 4,000 new housing units, Office of Reintegration Services for ex-offenders, police department reforms, Cities United, a youth violence initiative, a reduction initiative, Green Works initiative, Philly 311, key spots, internet access and technology training throughout the city, achieving the lowest homicide rate since 1967, adding more than 60,000 new residents and reversing 50 years of population decline, increased business diversity, more opportunities for startups and small businesses, successfully repurposing the Navy Yard, Chestnut Street Retail District revitalization, Market East revitalization, creation of the land bank, beautifying Philadelphia with public art, Promise Zone designation. Philadelphia's population, employment, and bond rating are all up. Crime and wage taxes are down. Viewed in isolation, each of these initiatives and accomplishments is impressive, but when viewed in the aggregate, they paint a picture of a city on the rise, a city where people are proud to live, work, and play. And as Philadelphians have this newfound confidence, the world is beginning to notice. New York Times ranked Philadelphia the number 3 on the list of 52 best places to visit in 2015. Last month, Philadelphia was designated a World Festival and Events City by the International Festival and Events Association. We had the World Meeting of Families meeting a month ago. We had the Pope visit. In 2016, we have the Democratic National Convention coming here. Forbes 30 Under 30 Summit was located here. The building blocks for positive change have all been assembled, and I believe we owe much of the credit for this transformation to the leadership and vision of our next speaker. So I'm very proud to introduce the Honorable Michael Nutter.
Thank you. I was enjoying hearing that.
How you doing, Mayor?
I'm okay, Patrick. Okay, I feel like I'm like 8. Like, where do I put my feet?
So how these last 8 years been? Relaxing? You good? You rested?
Yeah, I mean it's just been cool. You know, people have been so cooperative, loving.
It's the Philadelphia way.
Supportive, and just every initiative that we've put forward. And I mean, this has really been it's been a bomb.
We were saying
You have
back
to look.
then.
Somebody can Google bomb, the bomb. It's old school term.
But you'd do it again. We were just talking about this, if you could.
In a much more serious way. And thank you, Patrick, and certainly Philadelphia Magazine, Drexel University, and everyone here. this is the best job in America. There's no question about it, being mayor of a big city, being mayor of any size city. And it's a function of, kind of how many zeros are behind whatever it is that you're measuring or talking about. But there's no job like this job. And as I said in the back, I mean, it's not like, and I'm quite well aware of the calendar, but I mean, it's not like I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait, until this is done. I'm excited every day about this work. I'm really not ready to go, but I've read the Home Rule Charter a couple of times, and I have yet to find a loophole anywhere. I mean, what were they thinking? And it just what it is about this job, if you like public service, if you community service, any kind of service, is that you really do get an opportunity. And I've not served at any other level but the local level, city council and mayor. But it is the office closest to people. It is the office that I think ultimately people depend on the most for any number of different things. And quite frankly, I like that. I enjoy that. I like problems. I like taking on challenges. I like getting results, making stuff happen, getting things done. And that's really what this job is all about. And you get measured every day. You don't really have to take, unless you're in a campaign environment, you really don't have to take many polls to see how you're doing. I find out, pretty much every day when I step out of the car, hey, I'm or something like that. Philadelphians are not shy, right? So they let you know what's on their minds, good or bad. You either picked up the trash or you didn't. You filled a pothole or you didn't. You moved the snow or you didn't. You dealt with some emergency in a way that was, appropriate and with some level of expertise, or you didn't. And that's what we get measured on. That's what mayors get measured on each and every day. It's about performance. It's about delivery. We're a large service organization. I know a lot of business people in the room. So I'll give you this perspective. The overall, all funds in, total revenues, Philadelphia is a $7.3 billion corporation with 28,000 employees, 1.5 million shareholders who work hard, pay their taxes, and expect a return on their investment. We're a large service organization. We have a variety of lines of business. We have a public safety line, we have a recreation line, we have a business development line, and that list goes on. And we get measured every day by our customers as to how well we perform those services. If we perform well, we will grow our market share. If we don't, our customers will find someone else to pick up their trash, fill a pothole, deliver water service to their home. And the fact of the matter is, that's a business model. Running a government is running a large corporation. Philadelphia would be the 362nd largest corporation in the United States of America if measured by revenues on Forbes 500 list. I'm a CEO. I'm running a company. I'm trying to provide service, give people opportunity. The government doesn't necessarily create jobs. We create opportunity for you, the entrepreneurs and innovators and long-term business leaders, or someone trying to get a permit, earlier today to open their business. That's what we do. That's what we should get measured on. And then there are all the other things that happen. It's, I'd say that, my schedule is an estimate of what might happen today. And then there's a reality of the other things that go on. It is the best job in America.
Mayors, they see cities, I have to assume, and they get to know cities in ways that even lifelong residents don't. You get around to neighborhoods that, no Philadelphian gets to. Not every Philadelphian gets to every neighborhood in the way that a mayor does. What have you learned? How is the city different than you knew it to be 8 years ago?
Well, Philly's, we're about 138 square miles, a fairly decent amount of mass. Unlike some other places, it is relatively easy to get around Philadelphia unless you're on a Schuylkill non-expressway at 8 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which I never do. Never take the Schuylkill unless I can't avoid it. But I've been to a lot of neighborhoods that I had never been to before. I'm a lifelong Philadelphian. I've never lived anywhere else. I've been here all my life. I'm 58 years old, and I got to see a lot of different people under very different circumstances. Some that could be the happiest day of their life for whatever particular reason, or it could be the worst day of their life, and I've seen everything in between. The consistent theme is that this is a city of passion, it is a city of resilience, it is a city of hope, and people who truly believe that this is a great city, that their neighborhood is or could be the best, and they've not given up on this town. And I've seen that expressed in so many, many different ways. And what do people want? Regardless of race, socioeconomic status, level, neighborhood, community, whatever the case may be. We want our kids to be safe and get a great education. Folks want to work. We had a job fair for what we refer to as returning citizens. Like more than 3,000 people showed up. We had 18,000 or so young people apply for summer jobs this past summer. We were able to give 10,000 of them jobs in a variety of places, not just in the government, but across sectors. So people want to work. They want their neighborhoods to be strong. They want good service, and they want to know that the government respects them, operates with integrity, that untoward things are not happening, and they want to be proud of their city. So there is something to this idea of Philly pride. Again, New Yorkers may feel that, Clevelanders may feel that, Baltimoreans may feel that. I'm sure they all do. But there is something rather special about the pride that people have in this city. And I think they want to have more. And that's one of the things that we've tried to do in our administration. I appreciate the reading of the list of all kinds of achievements. But you know, of course, I did not do all of that by myself. And I've been fortunate to work with an incredible array of public servants. Some have been in the government for a long time, some had never been in government, some in, out, coming back. And this is a team that was, I guess, really fire tested through the worst recession since the Great Depression. And it was a very, very tough period of time, but it really cemented the relationships and the respect that the team has to get a lot of those things done. In many instances, before the recovery, and if we learned anything from the recession, it is really difficult to run a government with no money.
We spoke shortly after the Pope left town, and I just want to read one of the things you told me.
Oh boy. Now we're getting going.
If we just want to be the city in between New York and DC, and we want to just be Rocky, the Rocky Steps and the Liberty Bell and cheesesteaks, we can do that. We have that mark and we can try to live on it. I think that's not enough for us. We can do more. You're talking about a lot more than the Pope's visit there, I think. Can you kind of elaborate on what you're getting at?
Sure. And first, speaking of Rocky, so Sylvester Stallone, Michael B. Jordan, and Tessa Thompson were in town today for, I guess, an announcement of the upcoming Creed movie, which is the 7th in the Rocky series. Saw it last night. It is absolutely fabulous. The movie itself is great. The city looks great, but just a wonderful story, and they did a fantastic job. And I've seen all 7. They're, some are better than others.
All right, so the Rocky Steps are fun.
The Rocky Steps are great. The statue is wonderful, and it's in good shape. There is now a statue of Joe Frazier, a real person. And we like both. Take pictures at both. I don't care what you do, but we need to respect someone who really existed. But but a part of that whole series and the theme, that has also brought Philadelphia into a whole lot of folks, conscious and in their homes, or they've seen it in theaters around the world. So they know the Art Museum steps. We'd actually like you to go in sometimes. That'd be nice. The Art Museum is a great backdrop for the steps. You might want to check it out. And the theme song, gets played all over the place. Play the Eagles games. A clip from Rocky II is, whenever the Eagles are, kind of struggling, and that scene where, Talia Shire is in bed and she's been sick, and the whole thing. She said, "Win." I still tear up when I see that. I've seen that movie like 40 times. It's just really crazy. What I really meant by all of that is I want to raise the level of expectation in this city, of ourselves, of our city, of our government. Sometimes when I talk about Philadelphia, I'm not just talking about the government. I want us to expect more from each other. I want us to expect more from our city government, and I want us to be a place of choice. I'm not going to allow us to just be that place between New York and Washington, D.C. I flipped out once. You'll be surprised to hear that I flipped out once. You know, we were.
Did you get pissy, Mayor?
I don't really use that word for a lot of reasons. Not a good word for me. But I was traveling. We were in a. Right. Yeah. Yeah. It took me. Yeah. Okay. We'll come back to that. So we're in an airport. Don't remember where I was going or coming from. Doesn't really matter. And National Weather Service on one of the stations up. And I mean, they didn't have our name on. You know, I don't know. It was raining, snowing. It was doing whatever it was doing. And they've got Boston. They've got New York. And then all of a sudden, D.C. and Miami. Like, where the hell are we? I made a commitment that we'll have a very G-rated conversation. That's the most
We were
you're gonna
taking
get.
bets.
That's about. Yeah, I know. I would have taken some of that action.
Buzz Bissinger kind of blew it out of the water.
Yeah, no. I'm not trying to go there at so many levels. Yeah. So we contacted the station. Said, where is Philadelphia on this weather map? We're a real big city. And I understand that, our name is a little longer than some others. Fine, then put PHL up there. I mean, if you're struggling for space. So in any event, so it's all of that. I mean, it's little stuff, it's big stuff. It is, the big events that we host here, but it's so much more. It's the international travel. It's getting companies to come here and open new offices or expand. It's all of that stuff. So the other part of this job, which you will not find listed anywhere in the Home Rule Charter, is, you are, in fact, the biggest cheerleader for the city. And you have to have an enthusiasm about the city and about this job. And every day is not going to be a stroll in the park. And some days, some people are really going to piss you off. And you are going to be in a bad mood. Some of them are journalists, but not mostly. It's the day-to-day, stuff and circumstances that go on. And you just kind of try to figure out how to redirect or rechannel that passion or whatever upset you in the moment in better promotion of the city. And I think we've just been too shy in many instances to, kind of shout out about ourselves and some of the great things that are going on here in this city. And, it just seems like, a great moment for a Philadelphian is to do something really fantastic and then not tell anybody and just be content with having done it. We need to shout out to the world some of the great stuff that's going on here in the city. And so that's kind of what I was talking about.
The city's a very different place in a lot of ways than it was 8 years ago, and it's not in some others, and we'll get to that in a moment. But a lot of gains in a lot of different categories, a real vitality to the city that wasn't quite as much there 8 years ago. Where do you hope that the city is, 8 years from now? And sort of a second part to that, how fragile are the gains that we've seen these last 8 years in those areas where we've seen gains?
Yeah. Well, let me talk about I'll talk about kind of the fundamental philosophy that I and we have tried to utilize from a governing standpoint, and it's centered around. Okay. No, I'm not going anywhere. Sounds like Google Maps or something. Public safety, public education, jobs and sustainability, ethics and integrity. So I've tried to use those four as the fundamental pillars of decision-making in our city government, how we're going to spend our time, our energy, our resources, and our talents. Now, obviously, we do 50, 60, 80, whatever the number is, 100 different things in the course of a day. But from a decision-making standpoint, from a functionality standpoint, for me, those four have been the foundation of running the government. You can't be a great city if people don't feel safe. And in many instances, safety or crime, public safety and crime, often tied to educational opportunity or the lack thereof. If people are not working, then you cannot maintain a service level and you can't grow the tax base to be able to, again, because we're a service organization, provide those services. And if people think the government is corrupt, then who would want to be here? I mean, really. So On the public safety side, I think the gains, or in this instance, the losses, the lessening of crime, I think it is absolutely sustainable, but it takes a daily focus on those issues, and it takes a serious, leadership at the top. We've been fortunate to have Police Commissioner Ramsey. I knew he was good, and I knew he would be good, but he has certainly, he's absolutely exceeded anything that I could have imagined, and I think, we, again, as I tried to do at the first inauguration, is we should not be accepting of significant levels of crime in our city, and we are down 37% in terms of homicide, but we had 248 people murdered in Philadelphia last year, and one shooting, one murder is one too many, and it may be completely unrealistic to think that we're going to get to zero. The murder thing has been going on since Cain and Abel. So, I understand that some people do some things from time to time, but we should not be accepting of 248. And so the real question is, what's the next break point? It was mostly in the 300s for most of my time, and now this year should be the third year in a row below 300. But we can't accept that. From an education standpoint, high school graduation rates up 12% since I've been in office. $400 million nearly of new annual recurring funds going into our schools, and a lot significant gains in public safety there. But that's still only 65% of high school students graduating from high school. Only 1 out of 10 high school graduates, or 1 out of 10 young people starting in 9th grade actually graduate from a great university like Drexel or any one of the other 101 colleges and universities in the tri-state area. So funding is a big part of it, but I think accountability, and I know you wrote some things about the education speech I gave recently. Again, that's about setting high expectations and of parents, of teachers, administrators, and principals. But if we actually made sure that young people could read and write and think, graduate from high school, go on to 2 or 4 year or college and career technical education programs, and helped adults improve and increase their job skills, crime would actually go down. Businesses would chase the talent here, and we have a ton of it already, and we'd be that much safer as a city and a place that people want to live. And I guess, coming out of the 03, all of, that circumstance with the bug and the corruption and people going to jail and indicted and the like, I think on that particular score, Philadelphians did say enough is enough. We do have higher expectations. We want a place that is run with integrity, and it gave us a whole lot of runway to demonstrate that it is possible.
That's true, but in all the areas, or in many of the areas directly outside of your control in local government, we continue to see a lot of problems with corruption. It feels like a new investigation is announced almost weekly. So, getting back to the fragility question, how durable is this?
Yeah, I worry about those things all the time, and I have, first and foremost, I have no doubt that Mayor-elect Kenney will want a corruption-free government, much like I do, and that doesn't mean that people don't do things. There could be somebody doing something right now, for all I know. More than likely, we will catch them, and they'll get fired or go to jail. But so I think he will maintain that focus. None of us can ever really predict what's going to happen ultimately on the public safety side. People do what they do. We don't have a police officer on every corner. We can't station them in people's homes, and folks, do some pretty crazy things out there. But our trend line is good, but it won't just happen. You can't say, well, hey, things are going pretty well, and we can just kind of keep doing what we're doing. That's unacceptable. Schools, completely fragile, which really ties back into one of the other things that Eric mentioned, which is, yes, we've had population gain every year that I've been in office. My worry right now is if we do not pour in not only the resources and accountability measures and actually have a real funding formula for education, the many, many millennials who have come here, we've had the largest percentage increase in millennial population of any major city in the United States of America. Well, at some point in time, those millennials, they meet, they talk, they go out, they do what they do, and suddenly babies happen. I didn't think I need to fill in the blank for this crowd. So you know, people are sitting around and they're saying, you know, like Susie, Johnny are 2 years old. You know, where am I sending them in the first grade? Right now. And so, you know, Susie or Johnny, I mean, they're going to be going to kindergarten in 3 years or first grade in 4 years. And so, I mean, that's what's on people's minds now. And if we don't have viable neighborhood options in the public school system, whether district managed or charter, because they're all public schools, next thought is, well, can I afford private school? And the, you know, $18,000 of tuition for, you know, first grade or some astronomical crazy number like that. Or should I move? It's a highly mobile population. And live anywhere. They'll still want to come, you know, in the city, but people will do what they need to do for their children, first and foremost. And so that is, right now for me, my greatest worry, which is fixing and properly funding the public education system here in this city. It is the issue.
You said the other day, I think that I can't recall quite where I saw this, but that you spent more time on education than on any other single issue, or a bigger chunk of your day.
Pretty much.
Right, and we've gotten Superintendent Height, you know, a very well-regarded superintendent. You know, obviously there's been a lot of local revenue flowing to the schools. We all know what's happened on the state side.
Or not.
Yeah, or not. There you go. But I guess I mean, given that intense focus from your office, given you know, a quality superintendent, given you know, significant local investment and kind of underwhelming results to date, it's yeah. What do we do?
Well, I probably have to push back a little bit. I mean, you just can't ignore the resource challenges that the school district has. And while, yes, I have, you know, raised your taxes, you know, 3, 4, 5 times, which I'm sure all of you are completely thrilled with. A, it's not been enough, and B, it was going on at the same time that the state was cutting $300+ million out of the school system. So, I mean, it's not only a money issue, but the lack of resources doesn't help. And I mean, we need, you know, a contract between the PFT and the school district that's fair to teachers and fair to the public, that sets you know, levels of accountability and some flexibility for how we utilize the teachers where they're desperately needed. You're talking about children who, in some instances, not all, are actually not ready for first grade coming out of kindergarten or pre-K experience. And again, I'm very, very proud that we were able to get the Universal Pre-K Commission up and running. They're doing their work now. They'll present a draft, I think on January 15th of next year, to the mayor and city council. And so we've made gains, we've not made enough. Again, I set a very high standard for where I wanted to go, and you know, wasn't completely sure that we would get there. But if you have no goal, then you know, again, anything is accepted. So I wanted to push and push hard. So I think there have been changes, and Superintendent Height probably, I mean, maybe other than Police Commissioner Ramsey, probably has some of the highest, you know, credibility in leadership ratings of any person in this town, elected or appointed. People believe, and it is true, that he cares about these children, and he is not. Somebody gave me a phrase the other day. He is not a stakeholder in the status quo. He's not. But change is hard, and people fight you on change.
Another incredibly difficult problem to change has been the city's, you know, high rate of poverty. You said in an interview with Governing Magazine recently, every mayor's biggest fear right now is that you could be the next Ferguson, the next Staten Island, the next Baltimore, just like that. Our communities of color, the recovery has just passed them by. So on the one hand, you see all this recovery in the streets and mayors make all these announcements, but minority residents think, I still don't have a job. My kid is still getting a bad education. My neighborhood looks like hell. You know, this is the To Philadelphia theme, which, you know, has been with us for a while, but it seems to be getting more pronounced. And I guess I wonder what can a mayor do about that? What can City Hall do about that?
Well, I mean, here's the crazy dynamic of this. Our city treasurer, Nancy Winkler, just sent me an article. I'm going to forget which publication it was in. Philadelphia was listed as number 19 on the top 20 richest cities in the United States of
I
America.
think it was the metro area, and I think that was PhillyMag.com, just for what it's worth.
Is that what? Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. So I was reading this great story in PhillyMagazine.com. I literally just clicked on it and kept scrolling. And even when she sent it over, she said, you know, this is the schizophrenia here. We have the highest poverty rate of any of the top 10 cities in the United States of America, and we're listed as number 19 of the top 20 richest cities in the country. This is insanity. And so, you know, so we are not in danger. Let me take that back. While I said every day, yes, there is a fear that you could have a situation that could become, you know, like Ferguson. I think the fact of the matter is that, for the most part, relations between the citizens overall and police department, leadership by Commissioner Ramsey, leadership by activists out in communities, I think for most cities, we're not particularly likely to find ourselves in that situation. But I worry about it anyway, and every mayor worries about it in the final analysis. The recovery, whatever it is and whenever it started, has passed a whole bunch of folks by. And I think that if you're in a situation where pre-recession, you didn't have a job with not a lot of prospects, and then we go through the recession, and yes, some people are getting work, and there are more Philadelphians working today than at any time since pretty much before the 2000s started. If you've missed the wave on this particular recovery, you have a real sense and a feeling of nothing is going to change. I don't see a way out. And it's never a justification for crime, violence, or anything else. But a certain level of desperation and despair will lead you to think that my life doesn't particularly matter. It doesn't matter what I do. No one cares about me. And I will now do what I need to do for this moment. And if you're not sure that you're going to make it really out of your 20s in the first place, you will really make a series of very bad decisions that could affect your life for the rest of your life, or have no life at all. And so I think that the consistency of poverty in Philadelphia, which is not a new phenomenon, we've had an over 20% poverty rate in the city for the last 30 years. It is strong, it is deep, it has a vice grip and intergenerational on some folks. And that, the inability to see any prospect for a brighter future, I think decimates the spirit and soul of some folks. And if you get a lot of that, as it's concentrated in some parts of the city, that is a very toxic environment.
Take a different subject here. How healthy is the city's political culture right now, in terms of the political actors, the bench, voter engagement, the city committee, everything? I mean, we've got, you know, how vibrant is our civic discussion right now, our civic life?
Really?
Absolutely.
That's what you're trying to do to me.
There are other
boy.
questions first.
It's like the theme song from Love Story. Where do I begin? Well, I mean, I made some comments with regard to, let's start with citizens first, because there's not any elected official in the United States of America who put themselves in office by themselves. The acceptance, the seeming acceptance of declining turnout, which I know is not just a Philadelphia phenomenon, it's across the United States of America, I think is one of the most frightening local, state, and national trends in recent American history. I think we should really be concerned about such lofty concepts as democracy and citizen participation, what it means to be an American. If people opt out of the process and then just want to basically sit or stand on the sidelines and complain about what's going on. If you don't like what's happening, take your butt to a polling place and go vote and express yourself, as opposed to just sitting around complaining. So, you know, 26%, 25%, whatever percent, I mean, it is truly pathetic. And I'm sure in many instances, some of the folks who did not vote next year will be complaining to Mayor Kenny about whatever is on their mind. So, I mean, I think you lose a little bit of your right to complain if you don't take advantage of the right to vote in the first place. So, I mean, that's on the citizen level. I think for the political environment, you know, on the one hand, I don't think we've ever had an election for office and, you know, no one signed up to run. You know, on the other hand, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I was a little concerned early on you know, as I guess 14 was turning into 15, and I relate a lot of things back to, you know, when I ran in 07, I really started in 06, the year before. I was concerned about the average age. I mean, for a while there, when you looked at the array of folks who were talking about running, at one point, the average age was plus 60. Now, as I mentioned, I'm 58, and I think 60 is a new 40, and I get all that, and I think that's, you know, I love 60-year-olds. But, I mean, this job, I mean, this is a serious job. And it takes a certain amount of energy and engagement. I mean, it's an everyday job. I mean, it's not. So, all I really mean to say about that is I am worried about, quote unquote, the bench. And where are younger people, and are they running for office? Are they even thinking about running for office? And I mean, as I often say, I mean, look, the life of a public servant is, you know, people do complain a fair amount. You get some praise every now and then. You will never make any money, any real money. And folks who try usually go to jail. So, you know, you just kind of resign yourself to, you know, a slight vow of, you know, I don't want to say, anyway, you won't make what you could. But that's not the motivation in the first place. It's not why people go into public service. So, but I'm increasingly concerned that many young people are just finding other avenues. And I mean, you know, having 9 million followers on Twitter is not, you know, like your level of political engagement, or sending out tweets every other day about whatever is on your mind. I mean, which fantastic. And I tweet from time to time. I have an account. It's really me. But I want people to run for office. There's a nobility in this profession, and some have screwed it up. And you know, there've been some journalists that aren't, you know, the best, and there've been some doctors who weren't great, and there've been some lawyers that weren't fantastic. And all, so, I mean, but this is an honorable profession where you actually get a psychic benefit just about every day, knowing that you helped improve somebody else's life. And I understand you can't spend that at the supermarket. I get that. But someone needs to do this work and be committed to it. It actually matters. What we do. And
well, I mean, it is a grueling job. I mean, what is it taken out of you, your family? I mean, what's the sacrifice involved in, you know, running an operation like this for?
Yeah, and whether elected or appointed, I mean, at a certain level, I mean, it's not a 9-to-5 gig. I mean, you are going to miss some dinners. You're going to miss some celebrations. You're going to get calls in the middle of the night. You know, this is on fire. Somebody got hurt. This one got shot. You know, whatever, you know, any number of different things. And, you know, I say to, you know, folks that I work with, when I see their families, you know, I say, well, you know, you're serving as well. I mean, when that person is not around, when they can't do some of the things that normal, whatever normal is, these days, normal families do, it does take a toll. There are a fair amount of sacrifices that go with it. And I am not complaining at all. I love this job and I love this work. But, you know, I do have a family. I have a wife, 2 kids, you know, house, responsibilities, whatever the case may be. And, you know, when I can assure you this, when I turn the key in the door, the mayor thing is outside, right? It's like, I asked you to empty that sink out 2 days ago, and the stuff is still there. What's the problem? Well, you know, honey, I'm running the 5th largest city in the country, and, you know, I got this stuff. could you do what I asked you to do? Right? I mean, right? Yeah, well, hear that. Save that for the folks outside. You got nothing to do with that. So, I mean, like, I'm a regular person. I do try to do regular stuff, but it's it has its impact, and you want good, focused, honest people to take on this challenge. And whether it's being mayor, being in city council, one of the other offices, I think public service matters, and I want young people to think about it. Again, maybe this is fantasy stuff, but I mean, when John Kennedy said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country, and the start of the Peace Corps and now AmeriCorps, and I mean we've got these fantastic young people in city government, Power Corps PHL and Philly Future Track, and I mean and City Year and these programs, and I want to try to help inspire them to go that next. Okay, so now you've given a year of your life, you've given 6 months, you're doing your service, blah, blah, blah. Now, come into the government, run for office, use those same skill sets that you've developed over that time, and just go to the next level. So,
We're almost at time here, but there are 2 quick things I wanted to ask fast. I want to say almost, I mean, we are. But
we're completely out of time.
there's just 2 quick things here. Who really holds the power in this town? I mean, we see you, we see council, we know who the political actors are. You're just about done here. Who really holds the keys? Who's got the juice, that we might not see?
Well, as the 98th mayor of Philadelphia, I do. But you have to learn how to play in the sandbox, and everyone has their role and responsibility. So, the government was set up to have a strong mayor form of government, which every now and then I have to remind some people about that. But I can't introduce bills. Only city council can. They can't sign documents for certain things. Only I can. So everyone has their role to play. But I think in a final analysis.
How about those actors outside the building?
Say that again.
How about the actors outside the building?
I mean, I think you have the larger, broader political community. I mean, I have spent a significant amount of time in Harrisburg and Washington, D.C. I mean, you have to get along with those players, regardless of party. I mean, the folks back home don't care that the Democrats or Republicans are not getting along in Harrisburg or D.C. What they want is action. What are you doing? How do you make something happen? And I mean, I don't want to hear a whole lot of excuses. So I spent a lot of time up there, and the fact of the matter is that we've actually been very successful in Harrisburg. Every major piece of legislation that we have asked Harrisburg to pass, they've actually passed. May not have passed it on the day we wanted, may not have passed it in the fashion we wanted, or given us everything we wanted in that package, but every one of those major bills has passed. The business community has an enormous role to play in this city, as well as the philanthropic community and colleges and universities. I mean, they are incubators of economic development in and of themselves. And so, I mean, there are a lot of different power centers. The mayor's role and responsibility, I think, in the final analysis, is to try to keep them all somewhat together, somewhat on the same page, singing from the same hymn book, and provide a level of coordination and leadership that allows all those players to do their thing, but also be a part of this larger place called the city of Philadelphia.
All right, last question. Jim Kenney, you guys went to the prep together. You've known each other an awfully long time.
Yeah.
Had your ups, had your downs.
Yeah.
Is he going to be a good mayor?
Yes. For a couple of reasons. One, I think, I mean, we did go to the same high school, Jesuit trained, be a man for others. I mean, these are fundamental core values that both of us grew up with. We did serve in city council. I've seen his work up close and personal. And then my time as mayor, his time in city council, where I saw his work even closer and more personal. But again, the word that I mentioned when we started, Jim Kenney has that passion for this city. And they just announced a transition team and trying to figure out how to structure the government and bring people in. And in the final analysis, much like I said about myself, you'll get done the things that you can get done because of the great people that you get to work with and bring in. So I have no idea who's going to be in, kind of what job and what place. He's laid out an agenda and has a vision, I think, for this city that is a proper one, and he'll be a great mayor. And my hope is that for what I think are the good things that we've done, and turning this city over, as Athenian Oath reminds us, greater and better than we found it, that he can build on that foundation, put his own thumbprint on it, and be an even better mayor than I've been. You know, our time is our time, and you all and others will write about it, and it'll be that, you know, 8-year moment. But, you know, the next mayor should never have to worry about the previous mayor, or, you know, the comparisons that will instantly get made by, you know, many members of the press. No one should have to, you know, try to be like somebody else. You should only have to worry about who you want to be. And I think, you know, history will see as time goes on some of the things that we did in a different light, both the positive stuff and some of those mistakes that we made, and that happens in this business. But I think as long as your heart's in the right place and you're thinking clearly, take good advice, which is sometimes don't do some things that you really want to do, and do some things that you don't want to do. And you need strong people around you to get you, you know, in the right place at the right time on both of those. He'll be a great mayor, and the city will only progress. I think there is a momentum, there is a buzz to this town that has well positioned us to go to the next level and be an even greater city than we've been in recent times.
What's next for you?
No idea. I don't want to give the answer the other day, because then people start crying that, you know, I'm you know, somewhat, you know, only worried about money. I was being trying to be funny, and just gonna get Claudia a sense of humor. But I'm gonna be here in Philadelphia. This is my town, and I'm going to maintain a focus on the things that I care passionately about. So a couple that I know I'll be doing. We have the convention next year, of course, and I signed a contract for that. So I promised Chairwoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz that I'll stay actively engaged and involved. I'll become a co-chair with Governor Rendell of the host committee. The presidential race itself, I'll certainly be active in that regard. From a work standpoint, I have no idea what I'm going to do. I'll take a little bit of a break. I've been in elective office 22 and a half years between the two jobs, and you know, just slow it down a little bit and then get back out on the field. But I have no idea what I'm going to do next, but I'll be around.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.